Rebecca, did you want to say a few words?
Thanks, Sarah. Can you hear me okay? Yes, well, I'm happy to be here. My name's Rebecca Chaplin. I'm the Associate State Director with AARP North Carolina in the Mountain Region. We are, our mission is to empower people to choose how they live as they age. And in the past 5 years, we've really increased our presence in communities. I'm proud to see 3 of our volunteers here today. Sarah, Sheila, and your very own Judith Phoenix there is one of our team members, and Judith is in our high country team. We serve 22 counties in the westernmost part of the state, and our volunteers are what that make the engine of AARP go. They are the ones who fulfill the social mission. And so, as you all know, and the reason you're here is because being empowered to age as you choose includes where you live, living in the place of your choice and the community that supports you. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it over. And if you're inspired and you feel like you would like an opportunity to give back, as our volunteers do here today, consider joining our team of volunteers who deliver programs like this and do other types of education and outreach and advocacy along that social mission. I'll put my name and email address in the chat. And if that's something that you feel a little bit of embers of excitement about, we hope you'll follow up. And now I will pass it away
That's
to the
great.
lovely Sarah and Sheila.
Good, thanks. I'm just going to share my screen, and so you be able to get the presentation going. So here we are. All right. I'm Sarah Knapp. I work with the AARP Mountain Region. I'm from Brevard. I do a lot in terms of balance training, livable communities. Home Fit is one of the components of livable communities. And so we wanted to present some ideas with you today. I'm going to hand it over to Sheila, who is an occupational therapist, and allow her to start the show.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm really happy to be here. Sarah and I both are. We've been looking forward to this. Like many of you, we used to do these presentations in front of a group of people. You know, we enjoy doing that for communities. And for months too, we all were put on hold until we could figure out too how to do this live by Zoom. So we're just getting our stride back and presenting this way. So we're happy to be here. As Sarah said, I am an occupational therapist. I still am a practicing therapist, but I've specialized in home accessibility, home modifications, and looking at how people can remain in their home, because we know that's what people prefer. AARP did a big study, and as it shouldn't surprise any of us, I mean, the majority of people prefer to live in their community, in their neighborhood, and would prefer to live at home. And now, even especially with COVID times, we're finding that as opposed to congregate living, where you do live with a whole bunch of people, you have a lot, you know, it's safer right now to be able to live in your own home. You control your proximity to people. So I'm going to talk too about 2 things that this book talks about in terms of when you're looking for someone to help you look at your home. There's a certification called CAPS, which stands for Certified Aging in Place Professionals. And we'll talk more about that at the very end, but I just want to mention that at the beginning. Occupational therapists and people that are CAPS certified, if you're looking for someone to perhaps remodel a bathroom or looking at your kitchen, or even your entryway, the CAPS certification for any kind of home remodeler will tell you that they're educated and trained by the National Association of Home Builders to be looking for things for people who want to stay in their home. So the Home Fit guide that is this beautiful little book. It's really helpful. It's got great pictures and a lot of great explanations. And I think, Cheryl, is that available to the people? Was that, I don't know if those were distributed.
We sent it to them, Sheila, through an email, so they could link to it, and in their confirmation email with the link to this session today, they can download the Home Fit manual, but they did not receive one in the mail, a hard copy.
Okay, great, that's great. So you can reference that. We'll be talking about a lot of the content in this book, but there's more detail in it, so that's a great reference for you. And AARP created this workshop because we are committed to helping people be safe and comfortable. And it's a great fit, not only for older adults, but really for all people, just a way to be able to live comfortably in your home. And we operate on the principles too of universal design, which you may be hearing about more and more, but those are principles too where the everything about the home fits the person of any age, really. So things are accessible even for someone, a child, like for instance, the curbless showers that they could step into easily, safely, versus someone too who had some kind of limitations physically and needed more help to step into a tub or shower. And so we'll be talking more about universal design. I've got lots of examples of that. Okay, we want to encourage people to use the chat feature on your laptop or iPad or whatever you're using down there at the bottom. I hope you're all familiar with that, but if you scroll with your cursor down to the bottom of your screen, you'll see chat, the box that, and then you can click on that and be able to leave a message there. That's from Rebecca. So she put a chat, but if you have a question, we'll be watching that. If you have something that comes up. And also, you'll notice too, as we go through, there'll be pictures that have little green stars that show you some simple, real inexpensive changes you can make to make your home more livable. And we'll be talking about some of those at the end. Okay. Sarah?
Yes, I'm yes.
The slides for me here.
Yeah.
So our main objectives then are to recognize how a home can be modified to support changing needs and lifestyle at any age. It's kind of the idea of like prepare for anything that might happen. Prepare for the unexpected. Determine which modifications are important for maintaining the lifestyle that you all desire, and distinguish between modifications that are do-it-yourself, like some simple things you can do, versus something that would be best left to a professional. Right, Sarah?
Yeah, and so now's a good opportunity to also use your chat in terms of, we're just kind of interested, for those of you who are on, in terms of what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word home? And so Sheila, are we starting to see some things? Unfortunately, I can't see the chat box right now.
Not yet. What do
Come
people?
on, just one word. Yes.
Okay, we get out there coming in. Comfort. Linda says comfort.
Comfort,
Judy
good.
says family. Rebecca says rest and relaxation is home.
Yes.
Favorite furniture, Cheryl says.
Yeah.
Katie says independence in all
Good.
caps is home. Pat
So,
McGinn, my
yeah.
space.
All good things that we associate with home. I know the first word that would come to my mind is family. And when I think about that, you know, all those things that you just mentioned are the factors that drive your decision in terms of what kind of home fit adjustments you might want to make to your house. So when I think of family, I think in terms of, you know, yeah, I don't want to come home and find my husband's falling down the steps, or that, you know, I have stumbled when I'm groping in the dark, trying to get my pajamas when I'm going to bed after him. And, you know, things like that are really considerations. And as we share our ideas, some of the ideas will click with you, some of them won't resonate with you. And it's just a matter of picking out what would really be a nice sort of thing to do in terms of helping to improve the livability of my home. And so one of the things that Sheila mentioned is people want to stay in their houses. You know, you don't want to have to move or keep moving around. And particularly if you've lived in your home for a while, there's a sentimental attachment to it. It is your home. You want to stay there. And so there are considerations in terms of, well, how can you actually lengthen the amount of time that you're capable of staying there? You know, your home fit is a healthy living space. And so if you find yourself in a situation where you have to go out of the home, for example, for healthcare, there's a huge expense associated with it. Private duty nurse aides can cost you $4,000 a month, and adult daycare $1,600 a month. Assisted living, $4,000 or up to $6,000 a month. And then if you have even just a semi-private skilled nursing home, the semi-private room is $7,500 a month, and could actually be more. So even if you're looking at a major modification, which not everything that we're going to be discussing is, but investing $10,000 to $20,000 in a modification for your home, depending on your situation, might actually be a good investment that will pay back within a year versus some of the alternatives that you have. So we have big ideas, we have small ideas, and just think about what's right for you in terms of your home fit. And, even if you're very mobile, and you happen to live in that old Victorian home you fell in love with 20 or 30 years ago, there are some modifications you can do, but you might even find that it's not right for you at this point in your life. And so the home fit advice actually gives you guidance in terms of what do you look for when you look at your next home as well. Okay, Sheila.
Thank you, Sarah. So we're talking about universal design, as I mentioned a minute ago. And I'll give you a great example of universal design that you all can relate to. Do you remember the first time you walked into, let's say, a grocery store and the doors opened automatically? And that was really nice. Back in the day, we had to push the doors open, but now, so many times that they glide open automatically. The sensors there know someone's there. Or when you walk, I remember the first time too, I went into an airport restroom and started to wash my hands, and the water comes on automatically. Again, the sensors, but those are all simple examples too of universal design, meaning anybody could come up to the sink, and a child to put their hands there and be able to wash their hands, a person in a wheelchair, elderly person of any age. So that's what we're talking about. Those are the big concepts of universal design, and we're talking about them today, specifically having to do in the home. And it's talking about designing products and environments to accommodate all people. And there's a term you may have not heard that I love called visitability, because we want to think in terms too of the people that come to our house to visit. Can they get in our doorway? Can they come up the steps or not? If not, then how could I make sure they're able to come visit me? So it's not always even you, but people that you want to be able to entertain and have to your home. As we said, there's low cost, low maintenance types of modifications on up to major things, but we're going to be talking today about both of those, and also energy efficient ways to modify the home. But we're looking at thinking in terms too of the 0-step entrance, and that's an example there of the options, and also wider doorways too is what we're going to be talking about. And things like considering, is there a bath on the main floor, at least a half bath on the main floor. All right, Sarah, thank you.
Okay, sorry to jump ahead. There we go.
Yeah, this is a great picture here that all of us now that have been doing these courses for a while stop and think, oh boy, that's a tough one. In fact, I find myself, I live in Asheville and driving around. I've taken a lot of pictures for these presentations too that I use, but just thinking about the older homes and the accessibility, wondering if there's a back entrance, because that's what you're looking for. A lot of homes you can't maybe get in the front door, but is there an entrance, at least one through the garage that could be a 0 steps, or a way that there could be a ramp there in the garage, or a back door, a back entrance. But we got Pat McGinnis is saying, reminds me of steps to the library in Silva. Okay, right. I just was watching too all the events to the inauguration. I think of all those steps on the Capitol too. But yeah, there's a lot of places. There's lots of steps to get in. But that reminds me of that. But what else is your reaction? Anybody else have reactions to this image? I'll look down here in the chat. No railing. Very good, Judy. Yes, that's right. That's right. Those are good examples of what your reaction might be. And Rebecca says, I'm also an OT, and this type of entrance limits returning home from the hospital. That's right. That's right. And that's great, Rebecca. Your mother told me you were going to be on. It's great to have another OT in this group. you'll be able to relate to everything in this program. And we'll have you be a volunteer with us because I think it's such great information. Okay, Sarah. So let's go on to the exterior of the house. Talking about steps. You want to go on, Sue? Yeah. So this is an example of a 0-step entry that we were talking about. And whether the residence is a house or an apartment, its exterior doorways should also allow a smooth transition. And think in terms too of a mother with 2 bags of groceries, or a man with 2 suitcases, or someone pushing a stroller, someone with a dog in a stroller. It's for all ages, really, looking in terms of accessibility and entrances and how they can make it easier for people just to get in and out. The ideal is for all homes to have a 0-step entry or exterior doorway. And if a step-free isn't possible for the front of the home, then, as I was saying, you look at, is there a side door? Is there a garage entry? Somewhere that might be suitable as a substitute. Or another solution is a ramp. And this too shows, this is an interesting concept too for steps. You notice how deep those are? The steps can be individual and set at a deeper length that make them a little more shallower, but also if someone were to be using a walker or pushing a stroller, it makes it a little easier to get up and down the stairs there. And this is just showing too some variations of ramps. Sometimes it doesn't have to be permanent. Maybe it's temporary. Someone, broke an ankle or somehow had to have surgery where they're going to be limited for a little while. But there are temporary ramps, and then showing more of a permanent ramp on the left, or that threshold ramp. Those made of a really dense type of rubber that make it easy to be able to get in and out. And as I said, it doesn't need to be at the front door. These examples show the front door, but it could be in a garage too. And this is called a vertical platform lift, and they can only go up so high, like about 3 feet, but they are a good option if, for instance, a front yard wasn't very deep, or if you would prefer not to have a crisscross, big ramp in a front yard. But on the other hand, if you did, there's also ways to, we don't have any good pictures on this one, but good ways to incorporate a ramp into your landscape too, so it's more subtle. But that's an example of a vertical platform lift. Yes, Sarah?
Okay.
And then let's talk a little bit about the exterior lighting. We all know too how important that is, but what does a lift typically cost? Cheryl's asking. Like a vertical lift, Cheryl, I don't know, but I would think it would be a couple $1,000 at least, if not more. I know, and maybe Rebecca, do you have any idea? Have you had any patients that went home with a vertical lift? Honesty, maybe, but that's a good question. And I know in Asheville, there's a group that does install those, but there's the cost of the lift, and then there's the cost of the installation. So let's see. Okay, Rebecca says she's checking about the price. Oh, very good. Thank you. Okay, she's gonna check. So looking at the exterior of the house, some simple things is make sure there is outdoor lighting. And those solar powered lights too can be great for a pathway, as I know you all probably seen those too coming into the house. And you want to make sure the numbers are big enough that if there were a need for an EMT or people coming, first responders, that they can easily find your house. And there's also a recommendation that at least one exterior light be low enough that the light bulb could be changed without getting up on a ladder. So that is something to keep in mind too. But the pathway lighting is good, and the numbers are just important. I know I spoke to a group at a condominium complex, and they were saying all their numbers are on the curb outside of their condos, but they said it's really a problem because people park along there all night long. So if EMTs come, so they were all going to try to brainstorm a better way that they could agree on to have numbers more visible. Okay,
All
Sarah.
right, now, okay. So getting into your house is really, really important. But once you get in your home and start thinking about what's in your home, one of the newer concepts that we've been starting to address in Home Fit is the smart home. And so how many of you, and you can just nod your head, you don't have to use the chat. How many of you currently have some smart home features in your home? And if you're thinking, well, maybe not, well, actually, you probably do have a couple of features that we consider actually smart home. And it comes down to even having your stove such that you can program it so that the oven comes on at a certain time and or goes off at a certain time so that you can cook according to what your daily schedule is. And so things like that are really smart home types of solutions. But when you look at the smart home, even if you're kind of technophobic, you might find that there are actually uses for smart home. And even those of us who do have some inclination towards use of technology may say, yeah, I'm aware of all this stuff, but it's not for me. The last thing that I want is Alexa and Siri listening to everything that I say. And actually, I'm in that camp. It's like, I know that technology exists, and I know it'll make my life easier in a sense in terms of maybe I don't have to, get up to put my, to play my favorite music or something like that. I could ask Alexa to do that for me. But there are other uses that really become important. For example, even if you have a Nest thermostat in your home, that is a smart home feature. And these thermostats not only adjust the temperature of your house depending on time of day, they can sense whether or not the house is occupied and use that as part of the logic as to what should the temperature be at this point in time. And these are the kind of smart home innovations that now become very valuable, become appealing in terms of, hey, maybe those are things that I really could use in my home. And actually, when you talk about smart home features, I would argue that the people who can benefit most from smart home features are not those who are technologically savvy, but those who have disabilities or are isolated, and that now having some sort of assistant, that virtual assistant that can help in terms of the daily routine becomes extremely valuable. And so when you think about a virtual assistant, they could be, for example, if you controlling the lights and appliances, turning up the lights when it's time to get up, providing reminders in terms of it's time to take your medications, being able to allow a person to make a telephone call wherever they are in the house. And these are all features that become important, particularly when you think about, you may have a loved one who is in a situation ways be extremely reachable and be able to understand that their day is going well. So, it really does help out. And actually Judith says, getting up to do things that helps you be able to get up for the long term. And I absolutely agree. I teach balance classes, and that's a big thing that we teach. You've got to keep moving. But what if you're already mobility and restricted? What if you have a situation such as you fall down? So I heard a story in terms of a woman who fell in her house. She had a lifeline, but she chose not to use it because the last time she chose to use it, the fire department came and they broke down her front door. And she didn't want that to happen again. So, but she couldn't reach the phone, she couldn't contact anyone. So these types of features and services would have allowed her potentially to contact a friend or a family member, someone that she felt comfortable saying, hey, I need some help, who could then assist in a way that would not be perhaps as intrusive, or would make her feel more comfortable in terms of, I know somebody's caring for me. And that's where the smart homes and the virtual assistants come into play. But not all smart home features are necessarily high-tech features. For example, if you've got a light that's on a timer, that's, yeah, actually introducing some intelligence in terms of how your home is operating. And light timers and motion activation sensors, those are all things that have been around for decades. And so, it really is useful to think about just what kind of devices will help to make your life easier. And, having this, some sort of, sensor really does become helpful. That night light that comes on when you're going to the bathroom in the middle of the night. These are all things to consider as part of your home fit solutions. So I'm seeing all sorts of things come up in chat. I now can see the chat window, and good advice in terms of leaving the key with neighbor, things like that are also good ideas in terms of ways that you can help out. But don't just dismiss some of these smart home ideas. Because the technology might be threatening. You got lots of good people there in the Boone area, even those college students who can help out in terms of setting something up that's tailored to you. And that's another reason why I like the smart home features, is that it's tailored to what you need. Who do you want to call? How do you want this to behave? And so that's good. The last item that we wanted to talk about was light bulb choices. With the new LED lights, there are lots of choices in terms of how you can control the light in your house. And that's part of what you want to think about room by room. Do I need a nice bright light, for example, in the kitchen? That would be a nice bright blue light, but that blue, perhaps glaring light might not be what I want in my television room. And would I like the lighting to perhaps change in terms of when I'm up and during the day, I get the bright lights on, but during the evening, I want to bring that more yellow, subtle glow to the house. And you do now have programmable light fixtures that will adapt based on time of day. So things to consider. Okay.
Good, very good.
Now, we also want to talk about the entryway and the doors. So Sheila got you up to the door, talked a little bit about making sure that you have the visible addresses and things like that. But, you do want to look at the doors in terms of, for example, what the width of the door is. Your door should be at least 32 inches wide if it's going to accommodate a wheelchair. You don't want a threshold that's more than 3/4 of an inch. And if you're faced with a situation where your doorways are kind of narrow, you do have some alternatives. One of them that we're showing here is the swing clear hinges. And I think Sheila has one that she can demonstrate. And as she talks, you'll actually see her.
Yeah. This is what we just had it put together. You can get these at Home Depot or Lowe's, the hinge itself. You'd need 3 of them for a door. But anyway, it just shows how, it just opens it up about 2 more inches, but you have to make sure there's not a wall behind it. But it allows you, instead of limiting it by 30 inches, it gives you 2 more inches, 30.
Mm-hmm. Good. Thanks, Sheila. Yeah, so if you think about it, when you open that door, you've got the width of the door that, it actually decreases your doorway space, and that swing clear hinge takes care of that. But you also have other things in terms of looking at your thresholds, making sure, perhaps using a small threshold ramp if you got a little bit of a raise there as well. And for your interior doors, you might even think of things as simple as, I'm just going to take the door off the hinges and put a curtain up. And so, these are all ideas in terms of you need to get those doorways widened where you don't want to be doing new construction. So the other thing about doors is, those door handles. And a lever type door handle, you'll see in new construction these days, almost indeed universally. That is what is being installed. If you have arthritis in your hands, you know exactly how difficult it can be to turn that doorknob. And so, lever doorknobs are the fundamental recommendations, part of our home fit advice. Also, when it comes to the locks, you can think about turning that key in the lock. That's another thing that can be very difficult to do, as well as facing the problem of fumbling to get those keys. And so there are now new digital locks that will allow you to open the door with a code or perhaps a fingerprint or even a remote device. That remote device could be your smartphone that will act as a fob and unlock the door for you. So these are all things that make your life a bit easier. And then once you get to the door and you're stepping into the house, yeah, there are some things to think about there. And so here you really need to think about, all right, when I come into my home, what's the first thing I do? When I have visitors in my home, what's the first thing that we do? And is my entrance set up so that it makes it really comfortable to do, to do these things? For example, if you come into the house and the first thing you do is you put your purse down and you take off your shoes, are you set up to do that? Do you have a bench or chair near the door that allows you to do that? What do you do with your purse? Do you have a hook handy or some other place where you stow it? If you're the type of person who comes in, the first thing you do, is lay your keys down and your cell phone down. I see this whole thing about keep your cell phone in your pocket at all times. That's one way to be safer in the house, yes. But a lot of people, when they first come into the house, that's one of the things that they actually unload. And if that really is your style, you're not so concerned in terms of being able to call somebody at every moment, then you need to make sure your entranceway is set up for that, that you have a table or small desk where you can place these items. And if you got a cell phone, that you have your charger right there and you can charge it right there, so that when you leave, you know exactly where these things are. You're not going to be hunting for them in the house. And that's also that whole idea of having your house comfortable, having everything convenient is part of home fit design. Yeah, there you go. I like the Apple smartwatch idea. All right, so Sheila, you want to talk a little bit about the kitchen and the other parts of the house?
Yes, thank you, Sarah. And I do want to mention too, Rebecca did post it, if any of you didn't see it in the chat, that the cost for those lifts, Cheryl, was $3,500 to the $6,000 range. You might have already seen our note, but anyway, but that gives you an idea for those vertical lifts. Yes. Okay, the kitchen. So we all know that is this place where people tend to congregate, and it's a great place too for welcoming family, welcoming guests, and we often have, if family has gathered, there's people of different ages, different heights, and so on. So how can we make that accessible for everybody that wants to participate? Okay, Sarah. So looking at the current space you might have, is there the opportunity to be able to sit at a table, or in this case, they're showing like a countertop, to be able to prepare food? You have the option of a lower surface, work at a lower counter versus perhaps an island that might be a lot higher and be harder to work at, or only from a standing position. Let's see, there's some simple modifications too for safety and ease of use. And sometimes even just pulling out a card table can be a simple, low cost, accessible option if your countertops is not feasible. But looking at adjustable lighting too for ease of use. And whenever we see, I don't think we pointed out these green stars, whenever you see those, that's giving you like a lower tech, lower cost option of what you can do. And then lower level cabinetry, pull out shelves. I know we have those in my kitchen. I love those. Making it just easier to reach for, again, anyone of any height and ability. Open shelving for visibility. That's very popular now, to have some glass in the cabinet doors so that you can see easier what's in the cabinet. And then the drawers for maximizing space. All right, Lisa. And it's just an example of those pull-out drawers that have deeper deeper, I guess, deeper depth, that's what I'll say, for your pots and pans. And I know when I was looking for new cabinets, so we redid our kitchen, they have some that don't have the sides, but I would highly discourage you from getting those. The sides, of course, keep all the lids in and everything like that. Some of them were flat without the side. There are lots of things to consider too. With those are showing too in the handles. Those we replaced ours, I know, with these types of handles that are a D shape. They call those, yes, and they're
Yeah.
easy to grip and pull out.
Actually, I'm going to comment because this is not actually a D-shaped handle. You can actually perhaps get a belt loop caught on a handle of this design, but if it's a D shape, that's perfect.
It's more of they're at the far end. They're at the far
Yes.
end. Okay, very good. And then the faucet types too, back
Sorry
to that
about
one.
this. Yeah.
That's okay. That facilitate use and safety. Those are great too, where you just have to touch easily with one hand and you don't have to control with two different knobs for hot and cold, but they make it easier. And there are lots of versions of this too, and some are the sensor driven so that you don't even have to be able to have to reach that far. I was working with a quadriplegic patient that had one that was a sensor, so he could just get close enough and it would come on, and that was really great versus having to reach way behind. All right, Sarah, and then next one, yeah, looking at appliances. So there's some examples there of the refrigerator that has the French doors on top and where you can pull up to or walk up to that one and be able to reach items, and has the two drawers of a freezer. And that is also for the economy too of energy, in that you can have certain things that you would use more frequently in that smaller drawer, freezer drawer. And then the same with the stove, that you would have, or the oven, I should say, be able to use just one smaller oven instead of heating up a whole big oven. And the other thing to note there is the controls are in the front. That's ideal, so you're not having to reach across burners or hot surfaces to turn on the oven or turn off burners in the back of it. And of course, we've got the trash can and recycling under the sink. And then that's showing too the dishwasher with being able to wash a smaller load. If you're a single person living alone, or maybe just two of you, you don't have that many dishes, then you don't have to waste all the resources of a whole big washer. And it's easier to get to too in terms of reaching. The microwave, that's illustrating to the benefit of having it on the cabinet height versus above. So frequently they're mounted above the stove and oven, and you run the risk there too of, as you all can imagine, every time I pull something out of my microwave, which is above the stove, I think of all the examples we talk about in here of pulling out something that might spill on someone, might be really hot, and you get it partway out and you realize it's really hot. Or as we age too, it's just harder to reach above our heads to lift something. And in fact, we know ideally the core of our body is where our strength is, and the closer things are to us, the more strength we have. So keeping items like on the countertop like that, like a microwave, is just much easier for us to safely put things in the microwave, pull things out of the microwave. Okay, let's go into the bathroom, and that's a big topic. Let's turn on to the next one there. And this is showing too a lot of the low-cost safety devices. And some of these, again, might be temporary, something that you just need for the short run. But up at the top left, we call it a 3-in-1, because it can be used as a bedside commode. It can be used over the toilet. You take away that bucket that's underneath, but you can just slide it right over your toilet, and then have good armrests to push up from or to safely sit down with. And it also can be, they say it can be used in the shower. I don't recommend that because they get too rusty, but they're called a 3-in-1 because it would have three purposes. But that's a great low cost thing, especially if you have like a temporary situation, and it's just hard to get up and down. If after you've had a hip surgery, for instance, hip replacement, or even a knee replacement, and it's just harder to bend for a little while as you're getting up and down, that's a great device. And I don't know up in the Boom, but I know here in Asheville, there's many places you can get these for free. like loan closets. Churches have loan closets and things like that. You can borrow them for as long as you need it and then return them. But Medicare also covers this. So so you're seeing then on the top right is that walk-in shower. That's great if there is like a zero entry shower. And it's also showing you the handheld feature that's really nice. How about people, if you raise your hand, how many have a handheld shower in your shower? Where you can just, that's great. Okay, good. I see some hands. Yeah, that's really nice. And the way that one's designed, thank you, David. I see raised hand. Okay. That one they're showing you too has a feature that is a sliding handheld, so that if you were in a seated position, you could have it lowered all the way down and be able to shower that way. And Judith says something here, put up handrails by the toilet before you need it. Okay, that's a good idea. Proactive. Put up handrails by the toilet. If you have a wall there, and that's a great idea. So that the handheld shower, yeah, that slides, I was saying that. And then sometimes too, you have to double check, but they can have that be a grab bar also. So it has several features. It's a grab bar that's mounted into the wall, but it also slides. So it has multi-purposes to make it easier. And one other thing to keep in mind, if any of you are contemplating doing any bathroom remodeling in the near future, a great thing to do is to have the boards, like the plywood behind the board, behind the wall, I mean, so that mounted, so that if in the future you do need grab bars installed, there's a really good structure behind the drywall, behind the shower, behind the tile. You know, if you have those showers that are just prefab that replace a tub, you want to be sure that the grab bars will have something to adhere to and make them very safe. The other option that's a low cost option on the bottom left is that raised base of the toilet. We say that 17 to 18-inch height toilet is what we call the comfort height, but you can either replace it that way. They sell those now too at Home Depot, Lowe's, the comfort height toilet. But that's another option, is just have a base put in that raises it up. And I believe too, that's showing you a bidet. You can also have those now that can be put onto a toilet. You want to be sure there's an outlet close by though. That's the thing. And that's another point. If you're redoing a bathroom, see if you can have electricity that's behind that toilet. Oh, Rebecca says, I installed my bidet myself. Cold water only. Oh my, okay. Well, that's great. That's awesome. And another neat feature they have now, some of you might have seen, when you're talking about night lights when you get up in the night to use the bathroom, there's a blue light, LED light that goes around the inside of the lid of the toilet, so that you can see that too. It's a really low light, but it's enough to be able to see where you're going without having to turn on lights. And then the last picture there is called a tub transfer bench. But that's another great option too if it's getting harder to step into the tub, but you do like to get in there, and that's where your shower is. You can put a shower curtain, and you've got your handheld shower device and be able to bathe right there in the tub. And there's tricks for the shower curtain too. You have to put 2 slits in it so that it fits on either side of that, to keep the water staying in, but it can be done at low cost. A lot of beautiful new types of grab bars on the market these days too. I've taken a lot of pictures at Home Depot and Lowe's, and they've got some, and then I've got catalogs too. I know I have more designers, but I think all of us baby boomers are demanding more attractive types of grab bars. We don't want institutional grab bars in our bathrooms. So they're making a multi-purpose like that soap dispenser. It's showing you the round. It's a grab bar too, but has a soap, or the toilet paper holder there too is mounted into the wall so that it's sturdier. And then just always know too, your towel racks are not a grab bar, but there are types of grab bars that can serve both purposes, as long as they're one unit, like you see that one, versus the kind that clip together and then are into the wall. You don't want, those are not safe. And by all means, what's not safe is the suction cup kind that were so popular. So just be aware of that too. Those are not safe and not recommended. All right, Sarah. So living spaces. Let's talk about that for the rest of the house. We talked about the bathroom and the kitchen. All right. So if you look around here, you'll see some more of those green stars that we've talked about, like low cost safety considerations. And does anybody know what that one on the bottom right star is representing, where the carpet's turned up? Let me see in the chat. You can type away. All right.
That's it.
It's fall hazard non-slip. That's right, Judy, you got it. And Judy, okay, here they come. Safety mat, double-sided tape. That's it, Chris. That's the answer too. But it's all those things. It's all to make it so you don't make it a trip hazard, getting a toe caught as you're walking into that room. But it has some double-sided tape on the bottom there that you can put just around the edges to make sure if you have a nice Persian rug or a type of a rug in the living room, that it's not going to be a trip hazard. And then the other low-cost feature for safety is showing you just that cover, the plastic, or it's a rubber cover over the electrical cords too, if you are rearranging in a way where you're having a lamp cord that has to come across the room like that. All right, and then this is a universal design feature here of a light switch, just showing the rocker style switch that again is so much easier to use. And I wanted to bring this up when Sarah talked earlier about the doorknob to the lever handle. Think of how many times you try to walk through a door. I know so many times when I've got my hands full of things, and it's so nice to be able to use your elbow just to open the door. So this is another example where you can easily turn on a light, whether your hands are full or not. Those are great rocker style switches. Or the night lights, motion sensor lighting too. If you're coming in, if you've been out in the evening and you're coming home, and that's really great when the motion sensor lights can come on. Natural light too. A lot of people have the solar tubes. I've been seeing those a lot lately, or skylights, things like that, that just bring in the natural light, or simply having the blinds open during the day. See easily. There's glow in the dark switches and wall sconces in the bedroom as an easy way where when you're in bed, if you need to get up and turn on a light. Those are great, easy fixes. The dining area, the furnishing recommendations, it's talking about the importance of having different heights there. That's showing you where people could sit at a table to do an activity there in the dining room versus the higher height of the island, just making it safe and convenient for people of different age groups. And let's see. And they talk about too, even if you have a traditional formal dining room, you can repurpose that for the craft area. I mean, how many people oftentimes say they don't even use their dining room? Well, perhaps it could be repurposed for a more functional room.
My dining room is my Zoom studio. So, hey.
That's right. Nowadays, it has a lot of different purposes.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Just double check if there's anything else I need to cover there.
Okay.
I think that's good. We'll go on to the stairs. How many people have all their bedrooms upstairs? Anybody have to go upstairs? Okay, Judy, I see a hand. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing, I'm sure you've seen those stair glides too. It's just something to keep in mind if you're planning to stay in your home for the long run, and if at some point eventually, if you can't, have difficulty getting up and down the stairs, those stair glides are a lifesaver, and they can be installed. And I know my parents had one installed in their house, and it became such a utilitarian device. They would come in from the garage into the basement, and one of my parents would ride it up and be at the top, and then send the chair back down, and the other person would load up the groceries and take them up to the person at the top. I mean, they began using it for all kinds of functions, let alone riding up and down it. But they are a great option for if it becomes difficult to get up and down stairs. And let's see, you talk about the importance of handrails on both sides for safety. That this illustration shows too some lighting on the stairs, motion sensor night lights too. That's very good. There's another picture there of the carpet with some double-sided tape or that runner. And having tread too on the stairs is a good safety feature, as we all know, especially if you're in socks or something coming up and down stairs, it can be dangerous. And Rebecca says stair glides as low as $1,800. All right, that is amazing. And it's less expensive in a staircase like this where it's really just a straight shot. They become more expensive if they have to go around a corner and go down, say, 2 more stairs, or if you have a set of stairs and a landing and another set of stairs. Of course, those make it more expensive. Okay, let's see. I think that's good. I think that's good, Sarah. And then, oh, this is showing you one too, that the stair lifts, the 2-story dwelling. Okay, and laundry room. Talking about that's showing the newer style of washer and dryers that are front loaded, but they're up on those platforms that make them much more accessible for people having to bend down so low. And the idea too in a laundry room is just adapting it so that you have workspace to use, and that's showing too a laundry basket on wheels is really nice. And that you notice that step stool on the far right, that's a great safety feature too, where you have something to hold on to when you're stepping up and down. All right, Sarah, next one.
Well, what I think is really good is that everyone here has been putting their ideas in chat as we've been going along, and sharing with others in terms of what your reaction is, what idea, what thoughts do you have, what do you do in your own house. And so what we wanted to do is just pause for a moment, just get a few more chats in terms of, all right, we've gone through the house. There are a lot more ideas in that home fit guide. But are there 1 or 2 things that occur to you where it's like, yeah, I want to do this. I just put a shoe rack by my entryway. And boy, that's nice to not trip over shoes and to have the floor a little cleaner. So outside lighting is something that I just heard. Oh, a grabber to help you reach clothes in the dryer. Those grabbers can be used for so many different purposes once you have them. My daughter used one to close her curtains so that she didn't have to reach up as high. She actually had very tall windows, and now she could reach the top with that grabber. So all sorts of things. Other ideas? Your outside lighting is real important. Motion sensors can be a key part of that solution as well. Pet feeder on a stick.
That's good.
Although I'll say, I'll go ahead. I think it was Judith who said you got to keep moving, right? So to the extent you're able to move, keep moving instead of using tools to allow yourself to get a little bit lazy. But there are times when, like with arthritis or with other conditions, where that mobility just isn't there, and that's when these kind of solutions really can be so useful. So do you recommend walk-in bathtubs? We had that question the last time, Sheila, so you want to make a comment about that?
Yes, and I see several questions. We'll get those other questions up here too. The walk-in bathtubs, here's something to consider. And when I was doing home health with people, that's where I first saw them visually. The people some of them had them in their home. And the way they were designed, you had to step into the tub naked, or you could have maybe a bed jacket on or something, a shirt on. But then you would turn on the water, and it took so long to come up to where it was comfortable. And I remember thinking, oh, this isn't very pleasant to have to sit there when I was helping patients at home. And then the same so it was nice. Once you got the water though up, you're bathing, everything's great. But then when you pull the plug, it's gonna take a long time for the water to go down. So you're sitting there again. Now, some of them that I've seen in institutions anyway, have a big retainer of water that you can load it up ahead of time. So you heat it up with hot water, and then when you get in, you simply pull a drain and it begins to fill up right away. So I think they're catching on to the need to make that a quicker experience. But that's something to consider. And if you're interested in looking into those, I would have that conversation with the sales distributor. Like, what is the timeline between the time you get in it and it fills up and drains?
Yeah.
There's another question there about how do you find a contractor who's a certified aging in place, a CAP certified person. And with what you can do is contact your local National Association of Home Builders. They have a list of who's certified because they're the ones, and there we go. Yeah, there it is. Thanks, Sarah. That National Association of Home Builders, they have a 1-800 number, but I know there's one here in Asheville. There's a local branch. There's one in Charlotte. There may be one up in Boone too, but in your area, just see if someone can tell you who is certified in your area, and that would be important. I know I've noticed here, like when we had our tour of homes in the brochure, there were several builders who had that designation, and they made it loud and clear on their advertisements that they were CAP certified. So that's helpful.
Good, good. We also have a question here in terms of what do you do if your vision is deteriorating? And by the way, I did want to point out the comment from Rebecca. There are lots of tools if you are unable to bend down because of back surgery or hip surgery. And I just remember the shoehorn that my mother was given after she broke her hip. Lots and lots of different tools for those types of situations where your mobility is not fullest. So I don't know, Sheila, do you have any particular recommendations in terms of visual impairment?
Yes. Let me read this. I've worked with a lot of people with macular degeneration and visually impaired. What are the best recommendations for floor surfaces for visibility? Oh boy. Okay. The main thing is to have high contrast. So sometimes when I'm looking through some of these glossy magazines of homes too, you'll see like where the whole room is white, the tile is white, and then the countertops are some kind of a granite that's white, and it's real slick, and all the cabinets are white. Like that you want to avoid totally. You want to have high contrast. So your floor color, maybe, if it's wood or laminate or tile, whatever, you want to make sure it contrasts, or carpet, contrast with the cabinets. And you don't want a high glossy granite countertop or any kind of countertop that would be real reflective. But that's your biggest advantage, would be to look at high contrast, whether it's your bathroom.
Right. And it's really important on stairs. And if that means just putting a tread strip on your stairs or whatever it takes, you do want to have that contrast, so that you can more easily go up and down those steps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're down to our last moment here. Just wanted to point out that the AARP does have a number of resources that you can look at on the aarp.org site. You can go to Home Fit, go to Livable Communities, find out more about some of the ideas that AARP has to offer. And they even have a guide for Here to Stay. And so you might be interested in looking that up. And the suggestions are keep coming in chat. I noticed that.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak about one thing. Let's see. Carpet. Cheryl's asking, is carpet better than wood flooring? I think wood flooring or tile is better, because if you are with, God forbid, we hope not, and not everyone is on a walker eventually or in a wheelchair eventually. A lot of people live up till the day they die walking, and we wish that for everyone. But it's more difficult to propel a wheelchair on carpeting than it is on a tile or wood. So just keep that in mind. And same with walkers. If you had walkers with 4 wheels or 2 wheels, they're easier to navigate on a flat surface versus carpeting.
Yeah, and we've had debates as to whether or not you should carpet stairs. If you walk around in your stocking feet, which we do not advise, carpeting is going to be better for you, but better to just use a good pair of shoes, good slippers with rubber soles.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Lots of good comments coming in. Rebecca's good. I'm telling you, Rebecca, you ought to get with us on this. You can spread the word because I think it is great information. Everybody can benefit, no matter what age.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for the resources that you've given us. And I'm sure everybody's gotten lots of ideas for one or two things at least to do.
Good.
So we look forward to continuing to work with you, AARP volunteers, on other programs and maybe even this one again in a year.
That sounds great. We
We'd be
really
happy
enjoyed
to.
being here. You've been a great audience.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thanks for all your comments too. It was great.
You.